Welcome to Stairway to English. In this video, you will listen to and read about the question, is body language universal? We explore this topic in 5 episodes to help you improve your English and learn more about human communication. If you enjoyed this lesson, please like the video and share your thoughts in the comments. Episode 1. The Silent Language of the Body. Body language is something we all use every day, often without even thinking about it. When we speak, our words carry meaning, but our bodies also add another layer of communication. A smile, a raised eyebrow, a nod, or folded arms can tell someone how we feel, even if we do not say a single word. This is why body language is sometimes called a silent language, because it can communicate feelings, emotions, and reactions without sound. But an important question remains. Is body language the same everywhere? Or does it change from one culture to another? In daily life, people often believe that body language is natural and universal. For example, many people assume that smiling always means happiness, or that shaking your head always means no. These gestures seem simple and clear, but when we look deeper, we discover that body language is not always the same in every culture. What feels natural in one part of the world may have a very different meaning in another. This makes the study of body language very interesting, especially if we want to understand human communication across different countries and traditions. Think about the act of smiling. In many Western countries, a smile usually shows happiness, friendliness, or politeness. But in some cultures, people may smile even when they feel uncomfortable or nervous, because it is seen as a way to hide negative emotions. A traveler who does not know this might misunderstand what the smile means. In the same way, eye contact is another gesture that is not universal. In the United States and many European countries, looking into someone's eyes often shows confidence and honesty. But in some Asian cultures, avoiding direct eye contact shows respect, especially toward older people or those with higher social status. The way people use their hands is also very different across the world. A simple gesture, like showing your thumb, can mean good job in some countries, but it may be offensive in others. For example, in Greece and parts of the Middle East, the thumbs-up gesture can be seen as rude. This shows how important it is to understand cultural differences when interpreting body language. Even something as small as waving can carry different meanings. In some countries, waving with the palm facing outward is a friendly greeting, while in others it might look like an insult. Body posture also communicates strong messages. Standing tall with shoulders back can show confidence in many cultures, while crossing arms can be seen as defensive or closed. However, in some places, crossing arms can simply mean that the person is relaxed. This teaches us that body language does not always have one clear and universal meaning. Instead, it often depends on the cultural background, the situation, and the relationship between the people communicating. The idea that body language can change across cultures helps us see communication in a new way. It reminds us that words are not the only part of conversation we must listen to. Gestures, movements, and facial expressions can speak loudly, but we must always consider the cultural context. Without this understanding, miscommunication can easily happen. For example, a traveler might believe that someone is being rude when in fact that person is simply following the norms of their own culture. As we begin to explore the question, is body language universal? We see that the answer is not simple. Some forms of body language, like expressions of basic emotions such as sadness, anger, or surprise, may be understood by almost everyone, no matter where they are. But many other gestures and postures are shaped by culture and can change their meaning depending on where you are in the world. This mix of universality and cultural difference makes body language both fascinating and complex. In the next episode, we will look more closely at the scientific research on body language and how experts study it. We will explore whether some gestures are truly universal or if every expression is learned from culture. This will help us understand human communication at a deeper level and see the balance between nature and culture in the silent language of the body. Episode 2: Gestures Across Cultures. When we think about body language, we often imagine simple gestures like waving, nodding, or smiling. These actions seem so natural that we might believe they mean the same everywhere. However, when we look closer, we discover that gestures can have very different meanings in different cultures. This makes body language both fascinating and complex. It is not always as universal as we might expect. Take the gesture of a nod, for example. In many countries, nodding the head up and down means yes, and shaking the head side to side means no. For English learners, this seems like an easy and clear rule. But in some places, such as Bulgaria or parts of Greece, the meanings are reversed. There, a nod might mean no, while shaking the head might mean yes. For a traveler, this can be very confusing and may lead to misunderstandings. Another example is the thumbs up gesture. In countries like the United States, the United Kingdom, and much of Europe, showing a thumbs up means good, okay, or well done. People use it casually when they want to encourage or agree with someone. But in other cultures, such as in parts of the Middle East or South America, this same gesture can be considered rude or even offensive. What seems friendly in one place might be insulting in another. Eye contact is also an interesting example of cultural differences. In Western cultures, looking into someone's eyes often shows honesty, confidence, and attention. Teachers may tell students to look at me when I'm talking to you because they believe eye contact is a sign of respect. But in other parts of the world, like some Asian cultures, too much eye contact can feel disrespectful or even aggressive. People may avoid direct eye contact to show politeness and humility. Smiling is another gesture that feels natural, but it also carries cultural meanings. In many countries, smiling is a sign of friendliness or happiness. People smile when they greet someone, meet a stranger, or share good news. However, in some cultures, smiling too much can seem strange or even suspicious. It might give the impression that the person is hiding something or not being serious. This shows that even the most basic expressions are not always universal. Hand gestures can be especially tricky. For example, the peace sign, made by holding up two fingers, is very common in many countries. Young people often use it in photos or casual situations. But in some places, if you show the back of your hand with this sign, it can become an offensive gesture. Another example is the OK sign, made by forming a circle with the thumb and index finger. In the United States, it means okay or perfect. But in Brazil or Turkey, it can be an offensive symbol. Even physical space, or how close people stand to each other, is part of body language. In some cultures, people stand close when they talk, and they may even touch the other person's arm or shoulder as a sign of friendliness. In other cultures, standing too close feels uncomfortable, and people prefer to keep more distance. This invisible rule of personal space is something we learn from the culture around us, even if we don't think about it. These examples show that body language is both natural and cultural. Some actions, like smiling when happy or crying when sad, may be universal human reactions, but many other gestures, expressions, and habits are shaped by culture. What feels polite in one country may feel rude in another. This is why travelers, students, and people who meet others from different parts of the world should pay attention to these differences. Understanding them can help us avoid mistakes and communicate better. So, is body language truly universal? The answer is more complicated than a simple yes or no. Some aspects are shared across all humans, but many others depend on where you are and who you are speaking to. The silent language of the body is powerful, but it is also full of hidden cultural meanings that can surprise us. Episode 3: The Universal Emotions Behind Expressions. When we think about body language, we often focus on gestures or movements, but one of the most powerful forms of nonverbal communication is the human face. Our facial expressions are windows into our emotions, and they can communicate feelings faster than words ever could. Many scientists believe that basic emotions such as happiness, sadness, anger, fear, surprise, and disgust are universal. This means that no matter where you are in the world, people can usually recognize these emotions just by looking at someone's face. Let's take happiness as an example. A genuine smile, with the corners of the mouth turning upward and the eyes narrowing slightly, is recognized almost everywhere as a sign of joy or friendliness. Even infants, who have not yet learned cultural rules, smile when they feel happy. This shows that some expressions are built into us as humans, not taught by society. The same is true for laughter, which is often contagious. People from any country can understand that laughter is connected to amusement, fun, or relief. Sadness is another expression that appears to be universal. A sad face often includes lowered eyebrows, downturned lips, and sometimes tears. When someone sees another person crying, even if they do not know the reason, they usually understand that the person is experiencing sadness or pain. This natural recognition can create empathy, allowing people to comfort one another without speaking a word. Anger is also expressed in similar ways worldwide. A person's face may tighten, eyebrows may come together, and the jaw may clench. This signals that the person feels threatened or disrespected. Even if you do not share the same language, you can usually sense when someone is angry just by looking at their face and body posture. This universal recognition probably comes from human survival because noticing anger in someone else can help us avoid danger or conflict. Fear is another important expression that seems to be shared by all humans. When someone feels fear, their eyes often open wide, their mouth may part, and their body may freeze for a moment. These reactions are connected to our natural instincts. Long ago, noticing fear in someone else could warn us of danger nearby, such as a wild animal or an enemy. Even today, fear on another person's face can quickly make us alert to a possible threat. Surprise is also expressed in similar ways worldwide. People often raise their eyebrows, widen their eyes, and open their mouths when something unexpected happens. This reaction is quick and automatic. It can be positive, such as when someone receives an unexpected gift, or negative, such as when they hear shocking news. Regardless of the situation, the look of surprise is easily recognized by almost everyone. Disgust is another basic human expression. People often wrinkle their nose, raise their upper lip, or turn their head away from something unpleasant. This reaction comes from our survival instincts, helping us avoid dangerous or unhealthy things, like spoiled food. Even across different cultures, people respond in similar ways when they feel disgusted. These universal emotions show that, at a deep level, humans share the same nonverbal language. Our bodies and faces reveal what we feel inside, often faster than our words can explain. This is why emotions can connect people from different cultures, even if they cannot speak to each other. For example, if a traveler is lost in a foreign country and looks worried or afraid, local people may notice and try to help even if they do not share a common language. However, while emotions themselves are universal, the ways we show them in public can still be influenced by culture. In some cultures, people are encouraged to show emotions openly, while in others, they are taught to hide or control their expressions. For instance, in many Western countries, smiling in public is common and expected. But in other places, people may smile less often in everyday situations. This does not mean they feel less happiness, but simply that the cultural rules are different. The study of facial expressions shows us that body language is both universal and cultural at the same time. The emotions are the same everywhere, but the way people display them can vary. By learning to understand both the universal and cultural parts, we can become more skilled at reading people's feelings and connecting with them on a human level. Episode 4: The Role of Context in Body Language. When people talk about body language, they sometimes make the mistake of thinking that one gesture always means the same thing. But body language is not as simple as a dictionary of fixed signs. The meaning of a movement, expression, or gesture often depends on the situation, the relationship between people, and the culture in which it happens. Without context, it is easy to misunderstand what someone's body language is really saying. Take crossing the arms as an example. Many people think this gesture means a person is closed, defensive, or unfriendly. Sometimes this is true, but not always. A person might cross their arms simply because they feel cold or because it is a comfortable position. If we see only the gesture without understanding the context, we might believe the person is angry or upset, when in fact they are perfectly calm. Another example is smiling. A smile usually communicates happiness or friendliness, but it can also carry other meanings. People sometimes smile when they feel nervous, embarrassed, or even when they want to hide their true feelings. In some situations, a smile may not mean I am happy, but instead, I don't want to show how I really feel. This shows that body language often has layers of meaning that depend on context. The same is true for eye contact. In Western countries, strong eye contact is often seen as a sign of confidence or honesty. But in certain situations, like a job interview, too much eye contact may feel aggressive or uncomfortable. In some cultures, avoiding eye contact is a sign of respect, especially toward elders. But in another setting, the same action could be read as a lack of confidence or even dishonesty. The meaning changes based on the people, place, and cultural expectations. Even posture can carry different messages depending on context. Sitting up straight in a classroom may show attention and respect. But in a relaxed family gathering, it might seem stiff or unnatural. Leaning back in a chair might be comfortable at home, but in a professional meeting, it could look careless or lazy. This proves that body language cannot be separated from the situation where it appears. Gestures, too, are shaped by context. Waving a hand could mean greeting someone, saying goodbye, or simply trying to catch someone's attention. A raised hand could mean asking a question in school, volunteering to help, or signaling stop in traffic. The same movement communicates different messages depending on when, where, and why it is used. Context also comes from the relationship between people. For example, a pat on the back might feel supportive if it comes from a friend or teacher, but the same action might feel uncomfortable if it comes from a stranger. A hug can be a warm gesture between family members, but in some professional or formal settings, it may be seen as inappropriate. This shows how personal connection changes the meaning of body language. Another factor is the emotional state of the person interpreting the gesture. If someone is already upset, they might see a neutral expression as negative. If someone feels happy, they may interpret the same expression as friendly or kind. Our emotions influence how we read the body language of others, which adds another layer to complexity to understanding it. The role of context is so important that experts in communication often say, don't read body language in isolation. A single gesture does not tell the full story. To truly understand what someone means, we need to look at the combination of their words, tone of voice, body language, and the situation. This is why professional negotiators, teachers, and leaders always consider the bigger picture when interpreting nonverbal communication. So, is body language universal? In some ways, yes, human beings share common emotions and natural reactions. But the meaning of body language is shaped and colored by the context. Without considering the situation, culture, and relationship, we risk misunderstanding. Learning to read context makes us better communicators and helps us connect more deeply with others, no matter where they come from. Episode 5: Finding Common Ground in Body Language. As we have seen, body language is both universal and cultural. Some expressions and emotions are shared by all humans, while others depend on local traditions, rules, and contexts. This mixture makes body language one of the most interesting parts of human communication. It is silent, powerful, and often more honest than words. But it can also be confusing if we do not understand the cultural or social background behind it. The question is, how can we find common ground in body language, and how can we use it to connect with others rather than divide us? One way is to focus on the truly universal emotions. Happiness, sadness, fear, anger, surprise, and disgust are part of the human experience everywhere. A smile, a tear, or a look of fear can be recognized across languages and cultures. These emotions create bridges between people. They remind us that even if we come from very different worlds, we share the same human feelings. Paying attention to these universal signals can help us show empathy and kindness when words are not enough. Another way is to practice awareness. When we travel, study, or meet people from different cultures, we should remember that body language does not always mean the same thing everywhere. If someone behaves in a way that seems strange or confusing, it is better to pause and think about the cultural background before making quick judgments. This kind of awareness helps us avoid misunderstandings and shows respect to others. Learning about cultural differences can also improve our communication. For example, if we know that eye contact is considered respectful in one place but impolite in another, we can adjust our behavior to fit the situation. If we know that a gesture is friendly in one country but offensive in another, we can choose a safer way to express ourselves. This cultural knowledge does not only help travelers, it also helps students, workers, and leaders who interact with people from different parts of the world. At the same time, it is important to remember that body language works best when combined with words and tone of voice. A gesture or expression alone can be misunderstood, but when it is supported by clear speech and a kind tone, the message becomes stronger. This is why teachers, speakers, and leaders often use both verbal and nonverbal communication together. They use their words to explain, their tone to express emotion, and their body language to reinforce their message. In today's world, where people from many cultures meet online, at work, or during travel, understanding body language is more valuable than ever. Global communication does not only depend on learning new languages, it also depends on reading the silent signals that people send through their eyes, hands, faces, and posture. By learning this skill, we become better listeners, better observers, and more effective communicators. Finally, we should not forget the personal side of body language. Each individual has their own habits and styles of expression. Some people use their hands a lot when they speak, while others prefer to stay still. Some people smile a lot, while others are more reserved. These personal differences make communication rich and interesting. Respecting both cultural and personal styles of body language helps us build stronger and more authentic relationships. So, is body language universal? The best answer is that it is partly universal and partly cultural. It is a human language without words, shaped by both nature and tradition. By paying attention to emotions, learning about cultural differences, and respecting personal styles, we can find common ground. We can use body language not as a barrier, but as a bridge that connects us to people everywhere.